Hey everyone out there, YouTube is me, the Mother and we're here with the Paladins update for the new year on the PTS, and if you don't know what the PTS is, public test server, this is where we get to check out and try and give feedback for new updates and stuff for the game. So this is like the big update. This is the New Year's update where basically they start the whole game season year over. Of course, we're gonna have a new battle pass. There's economy change because of the battle pass. Tons of champion changes, item shop changes. Actually, I haven't looked at the quest yet because I was supposed to look at that too. All mine are gone though. What was the other thing? Some UI changes. Also in game too. So yeah, so there's tons and tons of changes. This is a new one. So we're here today with
Spyro.
yeah,
And the angry Spyro.
Yeah, so we're here with the Mitoporo. And we're here because we want to check out
again.
We're here today
because
we want to check out because we want to check out the new how things were. I've played for a good couple hours yesterday and today, so it's been out for a couple days now. And Spyro just hopped on today and tried a few matches of it. And though there are some positive things, I'll say about the patch.
I'm sorry, what?
There's definitely not enough positives to really like validate all these changes, to give approval to all these changes. So I guess first and foremost we'll start with the biggest issue right now. And
I mean, I want to know your positives because I didn't see any.
And the biggest issues right now are definitely tanks. And when I say issue, not because they're overly strong. Unfortunately, most of the tanks are just way too weak. So in this patch, they're expecting a lot of changes to do with shielding, because the way the game has been played right now, especially now, but also even before that, even before this season, barriers have kind of been an issue where they kind of really stall out games. Barriers really allow tanks to pressure backline a lot more than they probably should. Again, certain people like Torvald also being able to apply barriers to whoever he wants means flankers and DPS can kind of unfairly have health that they don't really need. So yeah, barriers this season have kind of been a big nuisance. They're only kind of really balanced out by you picking barrier people for your team and kind of like doing barrier trades to kind of get through other people's things. I mean, but you could say, okay, that's why Wrecker's there. As I said, there's lots of shop changes, but we'll get to that too. So all the shielding based characters, people who actively rely on shields, i.e., not energy fields like Atlas or Terminus, but shields like Barracks Barricade, Ashes, Moving Shield, obviously things like Torvald's health, Khan's personal barrier and stuff like that. So again, playing matches, seeing people try most of these characters. I've only ever seen, I only saw one Rom. I saw a couple of Manaras and a couple Ruckuses and stuff like that. I don't think I've seen an Atlas yet. But even so, obviously that's because most people want to try the Shield champions who got changed. I'm just gonna say that they just feel too weak. Now, if you go by the numbers that Evo Mojo put out on the patch notes and that are, for the most part, visible here, there might be a few errors here and there. Again, this is a PTS. Stuff sometimes just doesn't show up correctly. So I would say most tanks got their shielding cut by around 30%. Some got a bigger change because they're obviously much more aggressive tanks, and even because Wrecker got nerfed to compensate for all these changes, uh, they got hit a little bit harder. Um, and it just feels very bad to play a tank. And this is a combination of things we'll talk about at the end. But I don't feel that even without Wrecker, we actually just had a match before this with where no one had no Wrecker, and even though yes we only had one tank, but even so,
The shield just went down instantly.
a tank shield is kind of his lifeline. Yes, your support should be the one keeping you alive, topped off, and whatnot, but when a character is designed to have a shield, that is their main way of blocking damage, of being able to take pressure off themselves or to help take pressure off other people, because your shield is not necessarily just for you. So yeah, it's a combination thing. Tanks, I really think they need to undo. Well, so if it was up to me, I would say this: for all these changes that were done in this for this patch, as far as the shop is also concerned, at least partly right now, definitely. And this, by the way, this is done on the 8th. If it doesn't go up today, I might take a while to render and all that stuff, so it might go up tomorrow. So if I had to say one thing about this patch, for sure, they need to undo the shield changes and just revert the Wrecker nerf. Because that's probably the most unhealthy thing about this patch. That is honestly probably the most unhealthy thing about this patch. And do you want to say anything about tanks versus Spyro before we go on to the next part?
They're just terrible. It was absolutely like played.
That was the other thing too. We could actively see our opponent suffering as well, like not just us. You know, the McCall. Remember?
Yeah, like I played 2 games. I played Terminus and Fernando. First of all, Fernando, because he's the easy one.
We played 3. You played 2 of Fernando and 1 as Terminus.
No, I played 1 Terminus.
Oh, you played 1 as a Tiger. That's right. Never mind.
Yeah, but like I played first of all Fernando because he's the easy one. He's the guy that's supposed to have the biggest amount of shields. They didn't have any wrecker whatsoever. I couldn't even keep Fernando's shield up for 2 seconds. A Strix demolishes a whole quarter. 1 full quarter with a single shot. Then you've got all the other people firing. It's like, shield up, shield down. Like, you just can't. And the second your shield goes down, because you're a big dude, Fernando's a nice, big, juicy target, you're gone. You're absolutely gone. Like, the fact that you can't even keep your shield up for 2 seconds, it just gets obliterated, and there wasn't even any wrecker in play, is just terrible. And then going over to Terminus, with the numbers in the shop being decreased, like the payment numbers, I was like, "This is my first."
I haven't talked about the shop yet. I was going to get to the shop.
Well, yeah, I'm just getting to what I was doing with Terminus. Like, because of the number decreases in the shop, the price decreases. I'm like, oh my god, I can get 2 right off the bat. I can get 2 full levels of Rejuvenate right off the bat, and I've got 2 healers. I've got a Grok and I've got a Ying, and on top of this, I've also got Undying, so when I go below 40% HP, I'm going to take less damage. I've got damage reduction, so it's like, right, damage reduction, 2 levels of Rejuvenate, and 2 healers. I felt like I was getting fuck all healing. Keep that in mind, that we have 2 healers pumping health into me. I have got 2 levels of Rejuvenate, and when I'm low enough, I've also got damage reduction, and I feel like I'm getting no healing whatsoever. It's just so bad to play a tank now. Like, tanks are just, if they let this patch go through, which I hope they don't, nobody will play a tank. You will never see a tank again because nobody's going to want to play a tank after they experience that shit. They're just not. And just quickly going back to Fernando, I was fighting Makoa because I was the tank. And when I was flaming his shield, even when I didn't have Rekka, I could see that Makoa shield just going, just draining. So I didn't have to be that Makoa because I could see that Makoa shield just getting blitzed as my Fernando shield was. Like, it's just garbage. It feels so garbage to play a tank right now. Go on.
Okay, well, yeah, so that's what I'll say about tanks right now until the end, but I'm going to move on to the next big issue being supports. Again, I want to like have the shop issues or not issues, but like the shop stuff brought together at more closer to the end because I don't have much to say about the other classes because like that's a little something different. So then we come to supports. Now, the shop again got changed. We're gonna say a bit more details about the shop after, but the shop got changed, and one of the things that got changed was Cauterize. Now, what's the healer's worst enemy? Cauterize. In the game right now, healers, especially like the big healers being like Ceres and like Damba, like, or even I guess even Grover. You could say in the late game because he does rely on burst. I'm not gonna say Furia because Furia does have a second healing option that does like the overtime a lot more, and her heal, while it is a burst, you can actively control when to spot somebody, and most of your healing's done in that first burst anyways. It's not like the other it's not like a lot of the other healers that's done a lot more over time. So Furia wasn't as punished as some of the other healers because of Cauterize. But so the healing was reduced on everybody. And yes, that also, if you haven't checked yet, that also includes Ying and Grok. I don't know if it was just today or maybe they changed it last night, but definitely in their original patch notes they said they did not want to touch Ying or Grok because they want to wait and have a little bit of feedback before they change some numbers. But I will tell you, they changed numbers, and somehow they made Ying feel worse. If you don't know, I made me and Spyro made a video about Ying before, and they somehow made her feel worse. That's all I'm gonna say on that. You want to watch the video? Go watch the video. And then we have Grok. Grok, I think, got off better than Ying. The only thing that got hurt with him was his totem cooldown. Again, if I'm not mistaken, it was either 12 or 14 seconds normally at base. However, as far as I could tell, they didn't change the healing per second, but they did up the cooldown. Which, I mean, the issue with Grok's totem is not only the fact that it's wanted a place totem, but also because the cooldown has always been really, really chunky. And for that to be his main heal, it makes it feel really bad, which is why they had to buff what's it called, Spirit's Domain, as much as they did. And thankfully, they didn't nerf Spirit's Domain. If you're really good with Spirit's Domain and you want to try and make Grok a healer, you know, at least there's still Spirit's Domain there. But don't depend on your totem as much, because it feels slower. It does feel slower. So, but again, so all the healers got changed. Some of the stronger healers got a slightly harder hit. Again, like Fury. Fury got a bit of a chunky hit to a couple things. But again, with the changes in Cauterize, the idea was we want supports to be able to save people in the late game. It feels really bad being a support, someone who knows what they're doing. Someone who really knows what they're doing, who gives a shit about healing your teammates. To sit there, try your hardest to heal your teammates, and then see them only get like 200 health. Out of your entire heal, out of your double heals, get like 300 health if you have like a secondary heal of some kind. You know, it feels really, really bad. So their idea was, let's nerf Cauterize. Well, obviously we have to nerf healing. We have to rein healing in because Otherwise, with the Cauterize nerf, you're gonna get that, you know, a lot more healing, just in general. Because people also can't build or stack Cauterize as fast as they would otherwise. So you think, okay, so that's better, right? So healers should be stronger. No. No. It's literally the exact opposite right now. Again, this is touching back on the tanks, which is why I started with tanks first. Tanks need to be able to help themselves to an extent. There's a reason why even some things like Atlas's barrier and Terminus's energy field exist. Because that is a way that they can stay alive while still having their other tools available to them without being broken. So, those, again, you're using your shield to protect yourself. That means while you're protecting yourself, your healer has more opportunity to get more healing through to you. It allows them to be able to be a more effective healer because you're able to be a more effective tank. On top of that, if tanks are now more vulnerable, that means they can't be there for their team when they want to be. The way a match goes out now, just in PTS, I know this is PTS, all this information and all this kind of thought process does have to have a grain of salt because you don't have the entire player base on PTS, you don't have exactly the best people on PTS majority of the time. But the way a match goes is a tank will try to be a tank. We don't see that many double tanks, but we at least have a tank. And usually at least a healer, if not two. The way a match will go, a tank will try to be a tank, get on the point, we need to start capturing the point. Or even if we get into a fight, say both teams decide to fight off the point. The way it'll go, you'll get into the fight, the tank will get hurt. Obviously, hey, let me drop my shield, or let me drop my barrier to engage if I'm playing a barrack or something. You drop it, it's gone. You have your support right there next to you. Your support's right there following you like a support should. They're paying attention to you and everything. You even got your damage, or you even got your DPS backing you up. Maybe your flankers off somewhere else trying to get around and get to the backline, obviously. But they're there. You have your team working with you. Even in a good match on PTS, going 3-on-3, you have your team there with you. You're still forced away from the fight. You're a tank who is not allowed to be a tank anymore, because not just because you lost your shield. Yes, that is a huge factor, but now that you don't have that shield, it means you can't protect your support. You can't be a bigger target for the enemy team, so your support can stay there and heal you without having to be shot, having them back off. Or if you get railed into, your support's going to try and heal you, but even with little or no cauterize, your support's healing is actively less. So you are forced back too. You are forced away from the fight. The way all the fights went was that as soon as the tanks became vulnerable, all the tanks ran away. All the people the whole team basically had to regroup. The only ones that were kind of left to do up to their own devices were the DPS. They were literally the only ones that could continue to actively do anything because the tanks or the supports, we all had to fucking figure something else out. The second something happened, and that turned the game into either a fucking super stomp where flankers or DPS just went way out of control and we couldn't find our footing again. Or it turned into a fucking slog where we had tanks running around the map playing fucking Ring Around the Rosie until their supports were able to top them off again, or until the supports got revived, or like they were able to get someone else there to kind of like really stick with them. And that's frustrating. the point was to try and speed up the match a little bit by stopping tanks from having this ever present barrier nuisance. But it's this huge cascade of issues that if a tank can't if a tank can't be a tank, your support can't be a support because your tank's gonna either one die or two be forced off anyways, leaving you open or forcing you to go do something else. So even though supports technically got a buff this patch, even with the number reductions, they technically got a buff. In late game, when we went 3-3s, I could see myself still doing healing. But it didn't matter. I could see myself pumping numbers into someone, but that still didn't matter. Because they didn't have any tools to really help protect themselves. Again, the only exception being the DPS being damage or flanker characters. That was literally the only exception. So, you got anything to say about support, Mr. Poor?
No, not really. I mean, to me, like, I think they just don't want people to play tanks because last patch with Rom, what is Rom? He's an anti-tank tank. He makes, with the amount of health that he can naturally gain with Soul Harvest and the amount of damage he can pump out with that minigun versus how much damage a regular tank can pump out. If you're a tank fighting Rom, it's not fun. And now with this patch, if you play a tank, it's not fun. Stop playing tank. Like, Rom's an anti-tank tank. This is anti-tank. They just don't want you to play, or at least this is what it feels like. It just feels like they don't want you to play a tank anymore. Stop using tanks. Did you not learn your lesson from Rom? We made Rom an anti-tank because we want you to stop playing tanks. That's not deterred you enough? Well, now we're going to completely destroy your shields within 2 seconds so that tanks get miserable. Tanks don't want to play tanks anymore because why would they? They're not getting shielded, nor are they getting healed. So, like, it just feels to me like they just don't want people to play tanks anymore.
No, I mean, I don't think that's true. Again, that's kind of Sportle's bias. He really doesn't like Rom. I honestly don't have much issue with Rom, and even in rank.
No, I'm not saying whether I hate him or not. But you yourself have said that he was designed as an anti-tank tank.
Yeah, because again, the problem with the meta right for a while has been tanks are too oppressive. Either tanks do a lot, or things stall out because the tanks are fighting the other tanks. That's literally what I just said. But again, we're not here to talk about meta. We're here to talk about this patch.
Yeah, and that's why I come back to this patch. Like, Rom was the start of anti-tank, and now with the changes to Rekka in this patch, it's even less fun to play a tank. Like, I if that goes live, I'm not playing tank. I don't even think I want to play the game. Because, like, goddamn, is it miserable to play tanks now? Like, if you get, I mean, heaven forbid, if you get Rom combined with that shit Rekka, you're in for a right miserable time. Like, it's just not fun to play tank anymore. It's just not. Like, they have fully deterred anybody from picking a tank with that Rekka system. And it's like, no, don't. Like, I don't want people to be deterred from playing tank, because that means that little Timmy is going to want to play damage, and he's going to end up playing some really advanced damage that requires a lot of skill, like Lian, and then that's it. You've lost because Timmy decided to pick Lian. Timmy, why didn't you pick a tank? Because the Rekka. I don't want to pick tank because Rekka screws it. It's like, well, I have to agree with you there. Rekka did screw it. Like, they cannot put this patch through with Rekka in there. Well, no, because I can't even say it's Rekka. Because in that match that I was playing Fernando, nobody had Rekka, but my shield got demolished. They need to not put the shield change through altogether.
Mm. But again, just to say again, touch quickly on the flankers and damage. Again, probably one of the good things. There was a lot of changes also done to damage and the flankers. As far as the DPS are concerned, I definitely feel like they did rein in some people as well as bringing some people a bit up. As far as I can tell, people are enjoying the damage characters. People are feeling like it's fine. They enjoy the damage characters. Maybe some kind
Wonder
of
why.
were in the same spot, but people don't really feel like the damage characters are necessarily, again, on paper. If you're fighting another damage character, if you're like 1v1 me broing someone, uh, damage characters don't feel particularly unfair.
Wonder
As
why.
far as flankers, flankers for a long time, except for one or two exceptions, have kind of all needed a buff. Definitely, a couple of the flankers have always kind of been on the edge. Some of the ones that have kind of always been on the edge are Andro, not Khan, Koga, and even Sky have always been there. The ones that kind of always been somewhat present are Maeve, Moji. Well, not always. Moji has just come in somewhat recently onto the scene where she's been a presence. Some people have some issue with Moji. I don't. And then kind of like being in a position where you can pick them, but they're kind of you. If you're pro, obviously for sure, but sometimes I don't know. Being Eevee and Zin, uh, because while they do have some easy damage, uh, if you play a Zin badly, you're not gonna be able to get to your target. If you play an Eevee badly, you're just gonna die. Because she has so little health. So I honestly don't have much bad to say about the flankers. I only tried one. I think I only tried who did I try? I tried Zin and I tried Koga. Um, no, that's the only person I have an issue with right now is Koga, because I'm not no pro. I'm no pro at Koga. I don't play him that often, but I play him often enough to know how he feels and to and to know how he plays. And they gave his only real changes, like his only real buff was accuracy and damage drop off, and as obviously some other changes, but like that's the big one. Damage and accuracy. Not damage, but damage fall off and accuracy. Um, and although you think, okay, so that means he's just more effective at killing people who are a bit farther away from him. That's that's true. He is a bit better at that, but that's not the reason why I'm feeling bad. It's because even when I am close to people, and he has submachine guns, which you have to be close to people to get like the most damage out of them. I don't know what it was or what they did. I haven't played him today, and they've obviously made some changes today. Um, but I felt like he was just doing way too much damage. Like I felt like he was just doing way too much damage. Like people were having so much trouble killing me. It was kind of funny, but it was also like, dude, I should have been dead like 3 fucking times already. And again, I like Koga. He's been for a while now teetering on the edge of being meta, but it's I don't want him to be meta because of that, because that's just silly. And then what's gonna happen is, if that went through, or say if that was the only change that happened, it was just this change that was gonna go through in a bubble and sent into the patch that we're in right now. I have the feeling people are gonna hate him. People are gonna would try to abuse him, and then they're just gonna nerf him anyways. And I don't want that to be the case. I like the idea of him being a bit more effective at range, because it does feel really bad to see these people like dash or jump away and have so little health, and your guns just don't allow you to finish them off. Like, especially, and then two, you only have like one energy bar left because you used the rest of it to get them that low in the first place, or whatever the case. And like, you can't follow them up. It is frustrating, but I hope they tweak or find out why I felt like it was just being a bit too ridiculous. I felt like I was getting way too much energy faster. I just felt it was too much energy. I know Spyro doesn't have that much to say about damage. He only just played the one character. Um, uh, Tiberius, not a big deal. Not particularly strong. Is someone who he does good damage. If you know how to play, if you learn how to play him, I feel like you can be an effective damage dealer. But he he needs a team to be built around him. He's team dependent. He can't kind of go off and do his own thing. So, because it's very easy to punish. So, then we're gonna come to. I don't have anything to show for that, but we're gonna come to the. We're just gonna touch on the item shop, and this is where I'll kind of get on the positives for this patch, because obviously a lot of this has been negative. There is something that's positive to say about the patch. I like the idea that they want supports to have more of an impact in the late game. There is one or two supports, again, Furia and to an extent you can say Ceres, just because she has this present AoE, but the other than like those two, and while only really one, Ceres might be kind of a stretch, but other than that, even really good healer players, like, you can only do so much in the late game. Once 2 or 3 people have caught 3, as long as those people don't die, or as long as those people are able to tag whoever you want to heal, you're just not gonna get anything out of it. You're just not. So I can appreciate the idea that they want healers to do more, and that's great. That's cool. Have healers be able to heal even in the late game. Again, I felt like it was still fair enough where, when even in the best of my matches, where I would be healing a tank and I'd be getting a tank through, getting plenty of heals through a tank, I could see numbers still relevant numbers be there. And I was happy about that. But again, we just went through, why that isn't necessarily all there is to it. So, how would I say it? So, they have this good half here, but then there's the half that just completely outweighs that because it's a huge domino. And then they changed all the prices. Again, we've mentioned this a bit. They changed all the prices of the items in the shop, in the in-game shop, and that's fine. They brought down CC reduction 2, because they didn't like how some of the really CC dependent characters were just kind of bullied once you got CC resilience. Again, this is a lot more to do with tanks, especially because some of the tanks are really dependent on their CC. So they're like, okay, cool. We're gonna make it cheaper again. We're gonna make it cheap, but we're gonna have to reduce that enough where we don't feel like you can just free bully people who are really trying to take advantage of their kit, of their build, to try and CC people. So, and that's fine. And you can say that, okay, with the healer, as long as the healer isn't one being CC'd that much, the healer can kind of make up for that with more healing and less cauterize. So they can kind of get healing through when you're trying to be punished and give you an opportunity to fight back and stuff like that. That's a fine idea. Having cheaper buys all overall means the game can also speed up a little bit more, meaning you can actively build better counters or build to be a bit more effective to get to that late game state that some characters need, and that's fine. But like I said, if nothing else, you have to undo the record changes. You have to, because it's just those changes specifically affect everything else in such a huge way that I'm not saying it could potentially be done, but it can't be done all at once. It just can't.
I just thought, though, like, me and that Makoa shield were getting drained and nobody had Rekka. And Rekka is now cheaper. I actually don't want to even play a game where that. I don't even want to imagine a game where my shield and Makoa's shield goes down even faster. Because again, nobody in that match had Rekka. There was no Rekka being applied to me, and there was no Rekka being applied to Makoa, and our shields were just going dead. And you're telling me that they can make it go down faster with quick buys of Rekka? Like, I don't even want to think about that.
I mean, yeah. So I mean, that's kind of like the big crux of things. I will say one more good thing. At least it's good to me. Sproul may disagree. Again, there was a small economy change coming with the battle pass changes, meaning that people who basically it's this: you instead of logging in to get your crystals in the same amount of time you would actively be getting in the battle pass, now they're just in the battle pass so that you can just get crystals in your just for playing the battle pass. And they did this because a lot of people would say we don't feel the free track is rewarding. We don't feel like we're getting quite as much as maybe we should, especially for people who do tough it out to at least finish, the full set of things. I mean, they did change the battle pass, so this is just all flat levels. There's no first set and then a second set. This is all just flat levels with the community skins inside it. To me, this is fine. This means basically this: that people who can't play as much or play as often as some people can still actively be rewarded, and who might then maybe be willing to might entice them to be a bit more willing to thus buy the battle pass. But also, even if they choose not to, they still gain something for just playing. And they don't have to log in again, if they can't play as often, they don't have to log in every single day just to get a few crystals. And I'm pretty sure Sproul didn't check this, because even though he said he was, if you look at the distribution, it's actually a really fair distribution. There's 20s, 25s, 30s.
Oh yeah, when's the last one? Is it fucking 79? Let me load it. I bet it's fucking 79.
No, the last box of 50, just 50, is at 80. But there's literally 20.
Tell you,
there's literally a bunch of other spots spread every like 3 or 4 levels.
Yeah. But you see, okay, kids, fucking Battle Pass 101, Monopoly 101 for how corporations do this, and I fucking called it, and I knew they'd do it. So the idea is that you pay for the battle pass once, and if you complete the battle pass, you have the money to buy the next one. It just carries over like, hey, you got the money to buy the next one because you completed the battle pass. However, the higher up a battle pass you go, the longer it takes to level up, the harder it is to level up, and the only way to get your money back, which is what most games like Fortnite or any other battle pass does, is they put the last set of premium currency, the premium currency you need to buy your next battle pass, on the final level. A good 70% of people will never see level 80. They will not do it. They will never get that final set of crystals, and they'll just have to buy some more crystals. And I knew they'd put the last set of crystals. I mean, actually, there's a set on 79 as well. So 79 and 80. I knew they'd put that last set of crystals.
That's right for the premium track. We're talking about the free track.
No, we're talking about the whole track.
No, I was just talking about the free track for people who maybe don't even want to buy the battle pass, who at least get their dues.
I mean, yeah. But I mean that comes down to a whole the fact that a battle pass in of itself is a flawed concept and really shouldn't exist, because you could easily make a rewarding daily login. You could easily make rewarding daily challenges without a battle pass, because let's face it, a battle pass is full of shit, and you only care about the 3 skins because, like, just picking some out of the blue here. Oh boy, level 16, you get the evil mojo spray, because people really use sprays. No, they fucking don't. You could get rid of like 10 tiers.
Oh,
getting rid
also,
of sprays.
the other thing I forgot, but someone did mention this when I was watching the stream. There's no percentage booster. Everyone has the same level amount of XP. You don't get a booster just for buying the premium track now. So you gain experience just as much as a free player would, Mr. Poro.
I mean, not that's kind of the case, but also not, because there's also the red chests that give you like the boosters that you can activate during the match.
You can get those from you can get those whenever you like level up a character.
So there's but I mean, again, the whole point of the battle pass is a flawed concept, because it's like level 4 Genos spray. Nobody's going to use a Genos spray. Level 13 Ash spray, not going to be used. Level 16 spray, not going to be used. Level 26 spray, not going to be used. Level 37 spray, not going to be used. There's 5 tiers axed right there. You're down to 75. And then I see a spray at 47.
I can't see them because a lot of them don't load in.
Oh, they're loading in for me. I see a spray at 47. I see a spray at 49. I see a spray at 54. And that's all that. And I see a spray at 76. So that is 10 sprays. Nobody uses sprays. So why not just remove them? Why not just make a 70 tier battle pass? Because nobody's going to use the sprays. You can sit there all day long and tell me that, oh no, people do use sprays. No, they don't use the sprays. Don't sit there and lie to me. Nobody
I mean, I use the
sprays.
animated ones. I don't use the normal one.
Then why bother putting normal ones in? Because nobody uses the normal. When you pull off your quad kill or your pentakill, you're either gonna do the animated spray where it's like, oh, I'm gonna throw fireworks above my head, or you're gonna do an emote. You're emoting or you're animating.
Yeah,
so like, I don't agree with the battle pass in general, so I won't comment on the battle pass. But in saying this though, having seen it now, just actually like looking at it in general, having seen it, it's complete garbage, and I won't be fucking buying it.
Well, like I said, that's as far as that goes. So as far as that, some of the UI changes, I don't like the new VGS system, but they did say that you should have an option to, where is it? Gameplay probably. VGS input type, yeah, you can have default radio or text. And I want it to be text for sure. I don't like the wheels. The wheels basically for console people. We know they did that to try and help console people out. So in conclusion, there are some good things. There is definitely some good ideas here. But overall, you can't have all these changes in one go. You just can't. You want to weaken tanks, then just weaken tanks on an individual basis. Because with these sweeping changes to the tank class in general, it affects too much. It does too much. Some of the other changes though, keep them. Keep the cheaper shop. Keep the fucking flanker buffs. Keep the DPS changes. Keep the cauterize nerfs, and the resilience nerfs, and let the supports have their chance to shine in the late game. That's fine. Keep that. You can't hurt tanks this way, because then it just hurts everybody. So this has been me, King 3, Blame Others. Blame Others now, just So this has been me and
Insane Spyro.
And Flick the Changeling.
So thanks for watching, and hopefully things get better. See you next time.